Welcome to
Argue with
our
me.
episode of I Hate These Chairs. I slide down.
I love this chair.
I always feel like I'm like
Oh, that's my
That's
favorite part
usually
about this.
considered a
This
good
is
thing.
this is
Oh.
the part. This is it right here.
here's our B-roll.
This is it. This is the best thing about this chair.
So welcome
it's
to
one of the few that you can sleep in.
welcome to another episode of Camp Chair Review. Actually, this is the Blue Ridge Bonfire. I always want to say broadcast. That's pretty good,
You're
right?
welcome to flub it a few times.
Yeah.
It's
If
fun.
you think it should be called the broadcast, let us know in the comments. Sponsored by Blue Ridge Overland Gear. The Irreverent Overlanding Podcast is our subtitle. So CT had an excellent idea. We're going to talk about overlanding origin stories, like how we got into overlanding. And since it was his idea, I vote that he is the one that leads it
goes
off.
first.
Love it.
Oh god.
Nose goes.
This is okay.
We're very
I
strict.
got
nose
into
goes.
overlanding by working for Matt. I had three siblings working for Matt. None of them work here anymore. It's just me. But
Way to go! Last one on the island.
yes.
Technically, there's been like 5 or 6.
Oh yeah, because my older sister babysat with the
Yeah,
kids.
she nannied for us for a couple
Both
years.
my dad and my other older brother did construction for you on some projects.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, all of them have worked for me except your oldest sister.
wow. That's
And there's
crazy.
7 of them. So I mean,
Yeah.
like
Yes.
CT's one of 7.
No, but he needed a video person, and so they're like, "Oh, talk to my brother." So I met with Matt, and that whole thing was talking to him was really cool. And I just started out one day a week working for him. But then later on, you introduced me to Jason Speck with Mountain State Overland.
Yeah.
And so I then started going on some video trips with him, helping him shoot for the YouTube series and some guided trips and stuff like that. So that was my introduction. Haven't really built a rig myself, but I've gotten to, I go out to all the events and
Been
camp
on
there.
been on a lot of trips for sure.
Yeah.
He's got a Forester on 37s. That's
Right. I mean,
Hardly.
it's 37 centimeters.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoy getting out. It's a good time. It takes me a little while to I go through the technology withdrawal. It takes me but after 3 days of being in the woods, then I actually am enjoying the woods for what the woods are.
That
And,
is legit withdrawals. I thought you were gonna be like the
Oh,
first
yeah.
half hour.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I'm like
First
oh,
20
I wanna
minutes, my
watch
phone
YouTube
doesn't
videos.
fucking, I'm
Like
out.
where's my YouTube? Where's my I want to play games online.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Yeah, anyway.
I never played a game online.
Well,
So I don't...
it's about the friends.
Yeah,
If you
no.
chat with
I
friends,
get it.
that's the fun part.
I'm not anti playing games online. I just have never done it. I don't. But I don't play a lot of games. Period. So
Valid point.
occasionally some
Yes.
card games, but short of that, I don't.
There you go. So what about you, Matt? How did you get into overlanding?
I don't know. I mean, we had crawlers, when the kids were really young or non-existent, we had, sort of trailer queen stuff that we put in the woods a lot. So we started with that and crashing around with them, and from there we kind of started building equipment based on sort of those trips and what we needed, and that's why tool storage started pretty early for us because I broke a lot of stuff. Therefore, I needed a lot of tools, and I needed to be able to find those tools. And that whole cycled into, oh my gosh, I need to build kits for my tools, and I need to build bags for my tools, and I need to not have my tools fly across the truck. So I need a way to trap them someplace. And that's, I guess, kind of how that developed. And then as the kids got older, that kind of,
Morphed into camping out of the vehicle.
yeah, because it's not, was less fun for them. They, you roll up to something stupid and you'd be like, well, I don't need to flop this with the kids in here. So my lovely wife, God bless her, she would get out and carry them up, hills and stuff and drag them through the woods. And then I would, break things and we'd have to get towed out or whatever. It was just always and so there's a point at which that becomes less fun. So, by the time the third one came along, it was like, okay, but we need to make this more enjoyable for them. And I didn't need to keep breaking stuff. Like there's a point at which I just, you just keep building and building and building and dumber and get dumber and dumber and dumber. So we started looking at more travel incorporated with the off-roading stuff, and landed
You've
on
tried a
some
lot of
Land
different
Cruisers.
vehicles. You've
And
had Jeeps and
I
Toyotas and
I
other
like
things.
all of them. I do. I'm not a brand specific guy. I've had, I don't even know how many Cherokees, like stupid numbers, like in the 20s. I've had a lot of Jeeps over the years. I still have a CJ7 out back here that we're gonna resurrect hopefully this winter. I've got everything together and it's running and it's got a new clutch and it's on the verge of
Coming back to life.
yeah, coming back to life. I don't know that I'm gonna do anything stupid with it, but it'll be a fun kind of puttering around truck. And I've had a number of 80 series and 100 series and a van. I had Sprinter van I sold last year. Now I have a Suburban. Uh, but when I pick vehicles, it's strictly about what the utility is at that time in my life, right? Like what. So I basically, when I start thinking, yeah, I might want something else, I come up with this checklist of things I need it to do, and then I go, okay, I need to narrow it down to what vehicles can check the majority of these boxes. So the way I landed on the Suburban, because I was thinking, excursion and some other things. I wanted something that would haul pretty close to 10,000. Would pull a trailer weighs about 10,000. We farm, so I need to be able to haul sheep and I need to be able to move equipment. And the equipment that I move the most is totals in at about 7,000-8,000. So between that and a trailer, I landed about 10. So I wanted something that would sort of in that over 9,000 category. I needed something that would haul. There's 5 of us, and occasionally there's a friend or 2, or one's at home or whatever. So I want to be able to transport 6 people. So that kind of limits you. Um, I wanted to be able to haul all the gear I normally haul, which takes up a lot of space because and based on what the kids are doing, because the kids get older, like everything changes, right? It's not, or at least for me, everything changes because it's not, when they're 5. Their activity is completely different than when they're 15 or 16. I mean, uh, currently Laurel is my oldest daughter, who's 19 now, is, a really nationally highly ranked long range rifle shooter, which means we go to rifle matches all over the country. We camp at ranges in the middle of no place because long range rifle matches are not held at
in highly populated spaces.
No, they're in the middle of no place with no, there's no hookup for your stuff or whatever, so it's like, so anyway, when she got more and more serious about that and more competitive, and we started kind of kitting vehicles so that we could manage that and we could manage some travel with it. So that's kind of how I ended up landing on the Suburban. I don't know if this is an origin story we were talking about, but that's sort of how I've got to where I am as the kids have, like I said, gotten into other stuff. My youngest one likes to ride horses quite a bit. She likes to team rope and breakaway rope a little bit. So it's like, well, we need to be able to move horses and saddles and all that crap stuff.
How did you get into it originally? Was it did you do it with your parents or something?
No, I mean, I always camped. I was a terrible Boy Scout. I tried that for a while. I'm a really bad Boy Scout. I'm really good at having everything I need, and I really liked being in the woods. I was just really bad at merit badges. Yeah. It's like
Same.
It's
the structured, like,
right. I was just no good at it. I can just do
this on my own and not go to meetings. Right. Like,
if we could admit this once a month or once a week or what, I don't even know how often meetings. We could admit that and just camp every month, like I was good to go. But it was all this other stuff that, and to get rank you had to do merit badges. I'm basically illiterate, so like doing merit badges, I would have this book and I'd be looking at it, like there's words in there and they say stuff and I have no idea what they say, and this is a complete train wreck and I'm not enjoying any of it. And
so let's go to the woods. Yeah.
Well, I don't know, it just
no, I had the same thought. Like, I grew up in the woods. Like, wait, I have to go to a meeting to learn how to like tromp around in the woods and look at bugs.
Well, and then
I could just do that and not go.
Well, and then it's like you could only have a knife so big. So, and I'm like, I never even thought about how big. Well, I don't know. It's just it's not. I didn't even know that, like, oh, you can't have a knife unless you go through this trade. I'm like, and it's probably smart. I'm sure it's smart, but it just wasn't the way I grew. I grew up as a farm kid. and my family had a dairy farm, and like I don't know, there was just stuff that was normal life for us.
Yeah.
Apparently wasn't normal life for everybody.
Going back to normal's a different definition for everybody.
Right.
We
Yeah.
talked about that
Right.
earlier.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Holy crap,
Your definition of normal becomes, is interesting. My average day, week is different than a lot of people's.
Yeah.
What about you, right?
So yeah, kind of piggyback off what Matt said. Like we camped growing up. Usually for us, we were either camping at like a state or national park, or on a friend's property. We lived just like a half mile from the river, so we would go down and camp in the river bottoms, and some backpacking. But then I think probably for me, I was just thinking like the first like off-roading overlandy trips I was doing, which if you've listened to the previous episode, you won't be surprised, was probably around like fly fishing, like going into more like backcountry places in like North Georgia, where you would drive out for a couple hours and set up camp and fish a section of stream for a weekend. But then I guess like when it became overlanding, like when that was the word that I was using to describe it, I was writing for a sadly long defunct website called the New Artemis, gear review type website back in the day, and it was Mountain State Overland's very first season. I want to say like episode 2 or 3. Somehow found them on Twitter, realized we were relatively close by, and was like, hey, I'd like to join you guys on one of your trips and write it up for the New Artemis. And we were, in all honesty, not that far from here. Like we were in southern West Virginia, around like Walker Mountain and stuff. And yeah, did that, and then started writing for Outdoor by 4. Went on about one MSO trip a year for the first several years of that.
That's how Rick and I met.
Yeah,
on an MSO trip.
Was that New Hampshire?
New Hampshire, Vermont, something like that.
No, we met at Overland Expo, Taylor Ranch, but we got to know each other when we drove to New Hampshire together.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah.
15 hours in an 80 series.
Right, at 60 miles an hour.
Yeah. Interesting little tidbit at that point, Matt's 80 had 2 types of air conditioning. It would only work if it was on wide open. And it wasn't quite late enough in the summer where you could bear to drive with the AC on wide open. So for 15 hours up and back, this was what you experienced. Holy crap, it's hot in here. Okay, turn it off.
I don't. I'm glad you remember stuff, because my memory must be broken, because I don't remember anything that goes sideways or is bad. Like it completely blanks out of my life.
I think that's the storyteller in me, though.
Is that it?
Yeah. Because that's such literally, like, we would be, having a great conversation, and then one of us would be like, oh, I can't take it anymore. You'd slap that thing all the way to the right, and, ice crystals would shoot out. And then 10 minutes later, we're in our t-shirts and shorts, like shivering, like, okay, I think that's enough.
I think I've never thought of it that way, but yeah, like I will remember things from trips because while it was happening, I'm thinking about how I'm gonna retell this story later. Yeah,
I was thinking, you were talking about how I got started. I raced dog sled for a number of years, mid-distance dog sled for a number of years, and like early in my life, 30 years ago now. But like disappearing into the woods up north was one of my favorite things to do. Like literally I would pack up at, I eat Thanksgiving dinner, load my dogs up, go to the UP, Wisconsin, Minnesota, whatever, and just, bum around and live out of the truck with way too many dogs, probably 8 or 12, or depending on the year, and run some races and stay on guys' couches, and I did that for a long time. But yeah, no, again, I forget. I remember being drugged really bad a few times.
Yeah.
I can remember rolling across the field one time. So I will tell a story, because I do the really bad things I do remember.
The adrenaline has a good way of driving it.
Right. So I'm rolling across this field, and off in the distance I hear, oh shit. Right. And I'm like, huh. And it's a beautiful day. It's like 20 degrees. The dogs are hammering along. It's like maybe a 40 or 60 mile race. So it's, it's just a one day race. It was really early in the season. And I had, I grew up in Northeast Ohio. So I didn't get a ton of sled time early in the year, and way up in like the Keweenaw Peninsula in Michigan, they have snow early in the year. So this is like one of my first first outings on snow. At that point, I run a cart. Anyway, so and all of a sudden, 5 minutes later, because you start staggered, right? You start a couple minutes. Everybody starts a couple minutes apart.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, I hear, "Oh shit!" in the background, and I'm like, "What the?" I'm looking around, nothing. I see a guy going through the woods, and then a few minutes later, I hear, "Oh shit!" and I'm like, nothing. And then I see a guy heading through the woods, and I'm looking, and the next thing I know, I'm screaming, "Oh shit!" and I fell off like a 4-foot drop, like nosedives. Like my dogs disappeared. That's when the "oh shit" was said, because I'm like watching the dogs. All of a sudden they were gone. They're not that far in front of you, right? I mean, they're like me to you in front, like, and all of a sudden they disappear, and I like nosedive over this creek bank into a right-hand turn. Well, the dogs make the jump in the right-hand turn. I do not. So, and the key to sled dogs is you don't ever let go, right? Because what their job is to run. So if you let go, they leave, right? They continue to run. And if there's any form of trail, they will keep running that trail until they get stuck, hung up, whatever, right? Which is not good to watch your sled and your gear go running. I've seen that happen too, where I've just gone, oh my God, there goes all my shit. And my dog's running after them. It's no good because you can't keep up with them, right?
No.
So anyway, I hooked my arm in the sled handle, and I'm straight being drugged. I mean, and the more I'm trying to tell them to stop, the more excited they get, the faster they go. So I mean, I'm just getting drug along. And the next thing I know, I see a snow hook, which is this giant claw thing, right? This claw thing that as you put it in the ground, as you kind of ram it into the snow, it digs itself in. So I all of a sudden I see my snow hook bouncing out in front of me, which is this aluminum claw, and I'm like hooked onto the sled, and I reach out and I grab the claw, and I just ram it into the ground beside me. I ram it straight through a jacket, which was sort of entertaining. Rammed it through the jacket where my arm was, and then sat on it, like just laid up on top of it to try to get the dogs anchored. Well, it hooked and it stopped. I, of course, did not, because I was still moving. Dog, sled, all of that stopped really well. I smashed into the flipping sled. I like literally laid there for like, I don't know, it seemed like forever, like just checking all my parts, like fingers are moving, lay on the hook, dogs aren't tangled, sled's still here. I didn't yard sale the gear. Okay, let's try to stand up. Oh, look at that. If my legs work. Oh my God, I can see now. This is great. I'll wipe the snow off my face. I'm like finally get it up, and ended up finishing that race. But I've never been, I don't know how far I was drugged, but it was bad.